Who created God? A journey into eternity. Have you ever gazed up at a sky full of stars, feeling small yet strangely connected to something vast? I did just a few years ago, lying on a grassy hill with my little daughter by my side. She turned to me, her eyes wide with wonder, and asked, "Daddy, if God made everything, who made God?" That question stopped me in my tracks. It's the kind of question that echoes in the hearts of children, scientists, and seekers alike. A question that feels both simple and impossibly deep. It's a question that's haunted humanity for centuries. If everything has a beginning, where did God come from? Does he need a creator, or is there something about him that defies everything we know? Today we're embarking on a journey to explore this eternal mystery, a journey that might not give you every answer, but will leave you with something even more powerful, a sense of awe, a spark of faith, and a new way to see your place in the universe. In the next 20 minutes, here's what you'll discover. First, we'll uncover why this question grips us so deeply, from curious kids to brilliant minds like Stephen Hawking. Second, we'll dive into what the Bible reveals about God's timeless nature and why he doesn't need a beginning. And finally, we'll share 3 simple steps to face your doubts and feel God's presence in your life, no matter where you are on your journey. But before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Have you ever wrestled with a question about God that kept you up at night? Maybe it's who made him, or something else entirely. Drop it in the comments below. Let's explore this together. Why we ask, the human heart's hunger for origins. Let's start with a simple truth. We humans are wired to ask why. From the moment we're born, we're curious. Why does the sun rise? Why do leaves fall? Why does my coffee taste better some days than others? But there's one question that runs deeper than all the rest, one that tugs at our souls. Where did everything come from? If God created the universe, who created God? It's not just a random thought, it's a cry from the human heart, a hunger to understand our origins. Think about it. Every story we love, every movie we watch has a beginning. Take Interstellar, one of my favorite films. When the characters venture into space searching for answers about the universe, we're right there with them, wondering, what's behind it all? That's what makes the question, who created God, so universal. It's not just theologians or philosophers asking it. It's you, me, the barista at your local coffee shop, or your neighbor who's never stepped foot in a church. We can't stand ambiguity. We crave a source, a reason, a starting point for everything, even for God. I'll never forget a moment at a family campfire a few summers ago. My cousin, Jake, who's a software engineer and not exactly the religious type, leaned forward and said, "Okay, but if God made everything, where'd he come from?" Everyone went quiet. It wasn't a challenge, it was genuine curiosity. Jake wasn't trying to disprove God, he just wanted to make sense of it. And you know what? That's okay. That moment taught me something profound. Asking big questions doesn't mean you lack faith. It means you're human. It means you're searching for meaning, just like the rest of us. Here's a little lesson I've learned along the way. Our need to ask why is a gift. It's what drives us to explore, to grow, to connect with something bigger than ourselves. But sometimes we get so caught up in finding the perfect answer that we miss the beauty of the question itself. The question, who created God, isn't a roadblock. It's an invitation to dig deeper, to wonder, and maybe even to meet God in a new way. But here's where it gets tricky. If we're so obsessed with finding a beginning for everything, why do we struggle to imagine a God who has no beginning at all? Could it be that the way we think about time is holding us back? Let's explore that next. So let's step into this story, A story not just about God, but about you, your questions, and the search for something eternal. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The lens that limits our view. Picture yourself standing by a river, watching the water rush by. You can't stop it, can't step out of it. It just keeps flowing. That's what time feels like for us. From the moment we're born, we're swept along by it. Our first steps, our high school prom, that moment you landed your dream job, they're all measured by time. It's like we're fish swimming in an endless stream, and because of that, we can't help but see everything through the lens of beginnings and ends. So when we hear that God has no beginning, it's like our brains hit a wall. How can something or someone exist outside of time? Let me share a story. A while back, I was at a science museum with my nephew, staring at this massive exhibit of the universe's timeline. 13.8 billion years, all mapped out on a wall. My nephew, who's 10 and full of questions, pointed at the start and said, "Okay, but what was before the Big Bang?" I laughed because, honestly, I've asked myself the same thing. Scientists like Einstein have shown us that time isn't just a clock on the wall. It's part of the universe, like space or gravity. When God created the heavens and the earth, He didn't just make stars and planets. He made time itself. And if He created time, then He's not bound by it. The Bible puts it beautifully in 2 Peter 3:8. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. God isn't racing against a deadline or checking His watch. He's above the river, seeing every moment, past, present, and future, all at once. Here's a little lesson I've learned. Our struggle to imagine a God without a beginning isn't a flaw. It's a reminder of how different He is from us. We're so used to everything having a start and a finish that we try to squeeze God into that box. But He's not a puzzle to solve. He's the artist who painted the whole canvas of time. Instead of feeling frustrated, let that difference fill you with awe. It's okay if your mind can't fully grasp eternity. It just means you're human, and God is so much bigger than our imagination. But if God exists outside of time, does He need a cause, like everything else we know? Or is there something about Him that makes Him the one exception to the rule? Let's dive into that idea next, the concept of God as the uncaused cause. God is the uncaused cause, simplifying a philosophical idea. Imagine you're setting up a long chain of dominoes, each one ready to knock over the next. You tip the first one, and boom, the whole line falls in a beautiful cascade. But here's the question. What made that very first domino fall? There had to be a hand, a push, something to start it all. Now take that idea and apply it to the universe. Everything we see, a tree, a star, even you and me, has a cause, something that came before it. But if you keep tracing back, asking, what caused that? And what caused that? Zrania, we eventually hit a wall. There has to be a first cause, something that started everything but wasn't started by anything else. That's what philosophers like Thomas Aquinas called the uncaused cause, and that's who God is. Let me tell you about a moment that brought this idea home for me. Last year, I was at a friend's house for a barbecue, and we got into one of those late-night backyard conversations. My friend Maria, who's a nurse and always asking big questions, said, "I get that God made the world, but who made God? Doesn't He need a cause too?" I didn't have a perfect answer, but I shared something I'd read in the Bible, in Exodus 3:14, where God tells Moses His name, "I am who I am." It's not I was created or I began, just I am. That name hit me like a lightning bolt. It's God saying, I don't need a cause. I simply exist, always have, always will. For Maria, that moment sparked a new way of thinking, not about solving the puzzle, but about marveling at the one who holds it all together. Here's a little lesson I've learned. We often want God to fit into our logic, like a math problem with a neat solution. But the truth is, God's existence as the uncaused cause isn't meant to be fully solved. It's meant to inspire wonder. Think of it like standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon. You don't need to measure every inch to feel its majesty. Knowing that God is the source of all things without needing a source himself invites us to trust in something or someone greater than our minds can fully grasp. But here's where it gets even more interesting. If God is the uncaused cause, how does his answer stack up against other ways people explain the universe's origins? Are there other perspectives that tackle the same question? Let's explore that next and see what makes the Christian view so unique. Other perspectives on the universe's origin. We've just explored the idea that God is the uncaused cause, the one who started everything without needing a start himself. But here's something fascinating. People across cultures and beliefs have wrestled with the same big question we're asking. Where did the universe come from? It's not just Christians pondering this mystery. From ancient temples to modern labs, humans have come up with different ways to explain the origin of everything. Let's take a moment to step into their shoes and see how their answers compare to the Christian perspective. Take Buddhism, for example. In many Buddhist teachings, the universe is seen as a cycle of birth and rebirth, like an endless wheel turning through time. There's no single moment of creation, just an ongoing rhythm of existence. Then there's the view of many atheists, like some scientists I've met, who point to the Big Bang as the universe's starting point, 13.8 billion years ago, a massive explosion that set everything in motion. They argue there's no need for a creator. The universe could have sparked itself. And then there's the Christian view, rooted in Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Unlike an impersonal cycle or a random explosion, this perspective offers a purposeful act by a personal God who not only made the universe but cares about every single one of us. I had a conversation recently that really brought this home. I was grabbing coffee with my friend Sam, who's an atheist and loves debating big ideas. He leaned across the table and said, "Look, the Big Bang explains the universe just fine. Why add God to the equation?" I smiled and asked him, "Okay, but where did the energy for that bang come from? And why does the universe feel so full of meaning, like love, purpose, or beauty?" We didn't solve the mystery that day, but it got me thinking. Every perspective tries to answer the same question, but the Christian view stands out because it gives us not just a cause, but a reason, a God who created us to know him and be known. Here's a little lesson I've learned. Exploring other perspectives doesn't weaken our faith, it can actually deepen it. Each view, whether it's a cycle, a bang, or a creator, is a human attempt to make sense of the infinite. But the Christian story offers something unique, a God who isn't distant or random, but personal, loving, and intentional. Instead of choosing one view and dismissing the others, let's use them to appreciate the depth of the question and the hope that comes with believing, and through it, the Christian perspective invites us to see ourselves as part of a bigger story. But here's where it gets personal. If God is the creator who gives the universe meaning, how do we move beyond just understanding him with our minds to actually knowing him with our hearts? That's where faith comes in, and it's a step that changes everything. Let's explore that next. The bridge beyond the limits of reason. We've just explored how different perspectives try to answer where the universe came from and how the Christian view points to a personal God who created it all. But here's the thing. Understanding God with our minds is one thing. Knowing him in our hearts is something else entirely. That's where faith comes in. Faith isn't about having all the answers or solving every mystery, like who created God. It's about building a bridge from the limits of our reason to the limitless presence of God. It's the moment we stop demanding proof and start trusting in something greater. Let me tell you about someone who showed me what this looks like. His name was John, a friend I met at a community group a few years ago. John was a brilliant engineer, the kind of guy who needed data for everything. But when his wife passed away unexpectedly, his world fell apart. He came to me one evening, his voice shaking, and said, "If God exists, why did he let this happen? How can I believe in a God I can't even explain?" We talked for hours, and over time, John started attending church, not because he had all the answers, but because he felt something in those quiet moments of prayer, a peace he couldn't explain. John didn't find a formula to prove God. He found a relationship. And that's what faith does. It carries us where logic alone can't go. The Bible captures this beautifully in John 14:6, where Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Notice he doesn't say, "I am the equation," or "I am the final answer." He's the path, the companion, the one who walks with us through life's biggest questions. Faith doesn't mean abandoning reason. It means recognizing that some truths are too big for our minds to hold. It's like trying to catch the ocean in a teacup. Reason gets us close, but faith is the leap that brings us to God's heart. Here's a little lesson I've learned. Faith isn't about erasing your doubts. It's about bringing them to God. Think of it like a child running to a parent with a scraped knee. You don't need to understand the science of healing to trust that your parent will make it better. In the same way, faith invites us to bring our questions, our pain, and our wonder to God, trusting that He's there even when we don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. That's where the real journey begins. But what does that journey look like in real life? How do we take that leap of faith, especially when doubts feel overwhelming? Let's get practical and explore 3 simple steps you can take to face your questions and feel God's presence, starting today. Three ways to face doubt and find God. So we've talked about faith as the bridge that carries us beyond the limits of reason, connecting our hearts to God. But maybe you're wondering, how do I actually do that? How do I take that leap when doubts, like, who created God? Or, why is life so hard? Feel so heavy? The good news is, faith isn't just a feeling. It's a journey you can start right now, one step at a time. Today, I want to share 3 simple, practical steps to help you face your doubts and feel God's presence in your life. These aren't magic fixes, but they're like trail markers, guiding you closer to the one who's already waiting for you. Step 1, start with a 5-minute prayer or moment of reflection each day. Just find a quiet spot, maybe your backyard or even your car, and talk to God. Ask, well, what do you want me to see today? Or just share what's on your heart. If words don't come, that's okay. Just sit in silence. Step 2, open the Bible and read a short passage like Psalm 90, which talks about God's eternal nature. Write down one thought or feeling it sparks in you. It's like planting a seed that grows over time. Step 3, connect with a faith community, a church, a small group, or even a friend who shares your journey. Share your questions and listen to their stories. You don't have to go it alone. Let me tell you about my friend Sarah, who put these steps into action. Sarah used to call herself a skeptic. She'd roll her eyes at anything spiritual. But a couple of years ago, she hit a rough patch after a tough breakup. One day, feeling lost, she tried praying for 5 minutes, just venting her frustrations to God. It felt awkward at first, but she kept at it. Then she started reading a few Bible verses a friend sent her, jotting down her thoughts. Finally, she joined a small group at a local church, nervous but curious. She told me later, "I didn't get all the answers, but for the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone." I felt God with me. Sarah's story isn't about solving every mystery. It's about taking small steps and finding God in the process. Here's a little lesson I've learned. Faith grows in the small moments. You don't need to have it all figured out to start walking with God. Each prayer, each verse, each conversation is like a brick in a path leading you closer to Him. It's not about erasing your doubts. It's about trusting that God is big enough to handle them. And think of these steps as an invitation to meet Him, not a test you have to pass. But what happens when you start taking these steps? How does it feel to move from doubt to a deeper connection with God? Let's wrap up this journey with a look at what it means to step into His presence. An invitation to step into the journey of faith. We've come a long way together, haven't we? From wrestling with the question, who created God? To discovering that God is the uncaused cause, the one who exists beyond time, who invites us into a story far bigger than ourselves. We've seen how faith isn't about having every answer. It's about trusting in a God who walks with us through every doubt, every question, every moment. And those 3 steps we just explored, they're not just ideas. They're a doorway to a journey where you can meet God, not as a distant concept, but as a loving presence in your life. This isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning. Let me share one last story. A few months ago, I was going through a tough season. Work was stressful, and I felt like I was drifting, questioning everything. One night, I sat by a lake near my house, staring at the stars, and I just prayed. I didn't have fancy words. I just said, God, I don't know all the answers, but I need you. In that quiet moment, I felt a peace I can't explain, not because I solved the mystery of the universe, but because I knew God was there, listening. That's what faith has done for me, and it's what it can do for you. It's not about understanding everything. It's about knowing you're never alone. Here's a little lesson I've learned. The journey of faith starts with a single step. You don't need to have it all figured out to say yes to God. Every question you have, every doubt you carry, is an invitation to draw closer to Him. Like Psalm 90 says, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. He's been there before time began, and He's here now, waiting for you. So take that step, whether it's a prayer, a verse, or a conversation, and trust that He'll meet you right where you are. Now, I want to invite you to be part of this journey. If this video spoke to your heart, here's what I'd love for you to do. First, drop a comment below and share. What's one question about God that's been on your mind? Or maybe a moment when you felt His presence. Your story could inspire someone else. Second, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss our next video, where we'll dive into a Bible story that'll make you see life in a whole new way. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. And finally, let's close with a moment together. Let's take a deep breath and pray together. Close your eyes if you'd like, and just reflect. When was the last time you felt truly at peace? Eternal God, you who are from everlasting to everlasting, we come to you with our questions, our doubts, and our hopes. Thank you for being bigger than our understanding and closer than our breath. Guide us as we take our next step toward you. Amen. Thank you for joining me today. Let's keep exploring this beautiful journey of faith together.